Frank J. Avella with the Contending. Matthew Daddario does terrific work in Michelle Danner's comedy The Italians, currently streaming on Prime. I'm happy to have him here today. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing well. Matthew, it's a really, really good performance. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's so nice to have an actual Italian playing an Italian.
Well, I mean, I'm only so Italian, I'm Italian American, but as you know, we like to lean into the Italian a little bit.
Yeah, how Italian are you? I know you're a bit of a mutt there.
Oh man, I don't know. In percentages
Yeah.
or in personality? I don't know. It's oh gosh, I think I don't know, somewhere around 50%. I'm also Hungarian. I'm some kind of maybe some British in there. I don't know. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, but you lean into your Italian pretty well.
Why not? That's, the last name's sort of what you take, and Americans have a tendency to take a little bit of something from where they're from. It's just part of our culture, and yeah, sure, why not?
So tell me about getting cast in the Italians.
Oh man, that was a funny thing. I think Michelle Danner, who directed it, had seen me in something. I don't recall what it was. And she sent something over to my agency, and I met with her. And obviously, we filmed this during the strike. We got a waiver for it because it was a small independent film and had a great crew. So we got that done and basically had a chat with her. We were on board. I was on board, and then out to LA.
Nice. And how long did you guys film?
Ooh, 3 weeks. It was one of those shorter shoots, 21 film days, I think, maybe less, around there.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very, in and out, quick.
So I want to talk a little bit about Nico because he could have easily been a stereotype, but you do something really interesting with him. You give us this Italian son not wanting to disappoint his mother, but then you
Yes.
manage to also give him a lot of nuance.
Yeah, sure. One of the things, I think there's a tendency sometimes to fall into the kind of what people are expecting from the character. And so I think what a lot of actors try to do is bring your own sort of experience to it. And I know people who have this kind of relationship with their family. It's vaguely there's a lot of tension there, but at the same time it all comes from a place of love.
Yeah.
And obviously, he doesn't want to disappoint his mother. He doesn't want to disappoint his family in general. He feels maybe that he's not doing enough of his as a son, which are all good signs that he's empathetic and that he cares about his family. And you're willing to tolerate a certain amount from your parents because they're your parents, right? They brought you into this world, and you got to sort of. It's your turn to kind of take care of them. And I think we see him do that a little bit. He's also a little bit passive at times, and I think he becomes more assertive as things go on. But ultimately, he's just a good guy. He's not overly complex. He he generally seems to want people to be happy. He wants his family to be together. He wants there to be less strife than there is, and his mother obviously has a tendency to bring a lot of that in. So I tried to go from that angle that that he's a real person and that he's got things going on, but he loves his family and he wants this thing to go over well with his new girlfriend, which obviously uh, doesn't necessarily play out right.
No, no, not the way he would want anyway.
No,
Uh,
no.
so how was working with Michelle? Because she wears two hats here. She's not just your mom, she's also the director.
Yes, fantastic. She's she understands actors and she knows how to get you to give what you're going to be happy with and what they need. And I was very impressed with that. Working with her was very easy, very nice. Obviously, juggling director and acting is difficult, but luckily we had a great crew who were also very easy to work with, and all the other actors were tremendous. It was a very nice shoot. I was just very pleasantly surprised, I guess. I don't know. You know, you're always kind of expecting, you'll go in expecting the worst a little bit. You know, okay, what am I going to have to deal with? I don't know is there going to be a problem? Is there going to be, so you go up, you know, you have to be prepared. You have to have some contingencies. And zero problems. It was fantastic. It was a really nice time.
That's great. You know, it's funny you say you go in expecting the worst. That's a very Italian trait.
Yeah, you know, maybe a little bit, right? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just get you prepared for the worst because you know how that goes. You can, yeah, you don't want that to happen.
No, no. You know, the other thing about Nico that really struck me was because you have two siblings. As an
Mhm.
only child, you got that only child allegiance down.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there are multiple times that I remember thinking, or maybe I even said like, "Wow, Nico could really use a sibling here," you know, somebody to back him up, or someone to like push the responsibility off onto someone else. That's you know, when you're an only child, it's just you versus two, and that's not a good ratio. You need at least two so that you can properly yeah, fight the powers that be. In this case, your parents. So, yeah, you know, I think he felt a sense of relief a little bit when his uncle shows up because he kind of takes care of the dad, his father. So that's yeah. But yeah, that's a funny thing. You know I don't think I've thought about that since filming. But yeah, he's an only child, and that's a very different dynamic.
Yeah, yeah, it totally is. Like I said, as an only child, it is because you're very much in line with your mother, especially.
Yeah.
Uh, have you seen the film with an audience?
Yes, twice. I was
What was it
very
like?
the audience was very enthusiastic about this. It was funny. It's always great to see when people laugh, and then you can sort of you can evaluate your performance. You can evaluate how people respond to what you do and what happens on screen is really useful information. And you sort of, especially for comedic things, and you start to notice how important timing is. And you can really see, oh, that joke is off by just, if I just said that a quarter second earlier, or
Mm.
I just sort of slightly altered that, that would have landed, but this one didn't land, or something else will land that you don't expect it to. And you're like, oh, why did that hit? And so it's very useful to see your work in front of an audience, especially one who's engaged in the film and not, you know, sometimes you can go see something and maybe people are not that interested. But if people come in with a little bit of enthusiasm, you can really learn a lot from that.
I wanted to talk about Shadowhunters a bit because I've only seen two episodes, but was really entertained. And you have honorary queer status because of it. Uh,
Oh,
looking back, because that's kind of the show that was your big break. You know,
yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no question. I mean, first of all, you should watch the show. It's great. You know, I'm learning recently, I'm encountering people who are, you know, sometimes people come up to you and they say, "Hey, I watched something and Shadowhunters, okay. When did you start watching?" And they say, "Oh, like a year ago, 2 years ago." And it is interesting to see how things have this life that continues on after. And I'm seeing a lot more of this, and I've sort of been curious why that is. What about it has maintained this interest level? Because generally, you know, once a show is off the air, it kind of has a downward path. So I'm very happy that I got to be a part of that show, obviously. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things you dream about when you're acting, something with a built-in audience that's excited to see it from day one. You knew that people were going to watch it. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more. It really, and at least for my character, the way it ended was fantastic. So, hey, I mean, it was an incredible experience, and yeah, really made my career in a lot of ways.
Well, now I'm definitely going to go back to it. It's interesting because you go down rabbit holes. I think I was introduced to you with when women kill,
Yeah, Why Women Kill,
why
yes.
women kill. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And then from there, it was like, oh, what else has he done? Okay, let me check out. That's what ends up happening. Uh, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get right. Like, I
yeah,
think we're
totally.
all like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you see something, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go check out what else is going on. I always pop on if I'm seeing somebody and I like what they're doing. I pop on online. I see, okay, what else have they done? Figure out a little bit about them, get their vibe, and that way I can sort of say, okay, that's interesting to see that this person's capable of. This is great.
Yeah, yeah. And whose work do we like? Yeah, I go down director rabbit holes all the time.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like I want to see everything a certain director's ever made, and there's no time. Uh, Speaking of, who would you say has inspired you the most in terms of artists out there?
Oof. This question always the questions like this are always difficult because I always have this sort of concern that what if I work with that person? What if they see this? And then I look, but maybe I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be concerned about that.
Or you could pick dead
That's
people.
yeah, good point. That's true. Cary Grant. Honestly, there are certain performances that stick with you when you're younger. And one of the things I think that I really liked was seeing a the sense of ease that certain actors have on screen. Cary Grant is a good example of this. He seems completely at ease, which I think is a sort of a primary quality of charisma. And he just had that. Dick Van Dyke had that same thing. It's just this incredible charisma on camera. And I would love to be able to capture that. It's this quiet calmness, but then also this ability to obviously bring a dramatic and comedic flair to things. So that's obviously it's a combination of various qualities. But um, actors like that, I mean, I'm always impressed by. I'm always impressed by that.
One of the
Um,
things I'm seeing in your work, though, is you're also very generous with the people you share the screen with, and you don't always get that.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I try, my acting coach, my first acting coach I had was a woman named Anne Rattray. And Anne Rattray was always very big about that. And in real life, when you're talking to someone, right, you can go into a conversation with somebody and you can pay zero attention to them and just sort of say your part and fill it out. But you don't want to do that, right? That's not a good
Yeah.
conversation. That's not going to get the other person motivated and worked up, right? So you want to get people excited about what they're doing in the moment. You want to match their energy. If it's, and if the camera's on them, you want to give them what's necessary to do that. And you want to engage with them. You want to create that kind of chemistry, even with people that are not necessarily like romantic partners. There has to be chemistry on screen.
Yeah.
And I try my best. I try my best at that because I also really appreciate it when people give a lot on the other side.
Well, and it's funny, we were just talking about this with a friend of mine, how when you're having a conversation with somebody, sometimes they're not really listening to you. They're anticipating what they're going to say next. And that must happen a lot with journalists, right?
Yeah, actually, it definitely does with journalists. I can tell sometimes when I get asked a question, it's like that's done, and now wait until I stop talking, and then they have the next question lined up. It's not really a conversation, but that's fine if it's for print, right? That's
Yeah.
that's okay. But if you're having a conversation, that's where you can really get a little more out of somebody, and you can get a little more of their personality, which I think is important. And definitely, if go out and have a conversation. When you go to like a party, there's a lot of people you don't know,
Hmm.
but you're being introduced to various people, and then you have to quickly engage them and figure out, okay, what is it this person is interested in? How can I make this person engaged so that I can have a meaningful and pleasant conversation with them, right? You learn different techniques to uh, to encourage the other person. And then eventually it just becomes second nature. You kind of just, it's this subtle thing, a little bit of the lizard brain taking in certain things, but other things are more active. And it's the same in acting. It's the same in acting. You have to be engaged. You have to be present. You have to be there, not
Yeah.
thinking about what's next.
Yeah. I absolutely. Yeah. It's funny when I was watching you in the Italians, your sister Alexandra, who was on White Lotus, I kept thinking you'd be a great addition to the White Lotus family.
Well, thank you. Yeah, White Lotus is a great show. It's It's yeah, it's really great. I especially like how they go to very exotic destinations. And that seems like a lot of fun. Seems like a fun job to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm putting in the bid for you right now if
Okay,
anybody's
put that in for me. Thank you very much. I'll take it.
so Matt, um what would you say is like maybe the biggest obstacle that you've encountered in the industry?
I came into the industry, let's say around 2011. 2011. That's when I sort of started. And the industries have been undergoing enormous and rapid change, especially due to technological shifts in how we distribute the products that we create, the films and the TV shows we create. And I think that navigating that change has been difficult for the entire industry because there's a lot of things that are in flux, and that always leads to a little bit of confusion. And obviously, adapting to a new world without a lot of in-person auditioning, it's not what it was in the past. And so I think that adapting to the new media environment is something that is going to be a continuing conversation amongst me and other people that I work with, um, because it's a fascinating thing, and I could go into great detail about how I see this and some things, some predictions I had that came true and some that did not. But it's an interesting time. I'm very curious to see what goes forward, and I think it's primarily going to be influenced by just people's viewing habits, what they prefer, how they prefer to consume their media. So that's what I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah,
So.
it is a fascinating time, and especially for indie film, where, I mean, in certain respects, we have more, and yet it's also narrowing.
Yes, narrowing is a great word for it, and also the kind of material that gets put out is going to be, I think, increasingly narrow in focus. I think we're going to have less sort of. Okay, for example, I was recently at uh, Dances with Films in LA because I had a short there. It's a very good short called um, people walk dogs late at night in the suburbs. We just call it People Walk Dogs. My little sister had a film there. My friend Harry Shum Jr. had a film there, and I was incredibly impressed with the quality of the films I saw. And these are very good movies, very good acting, very good directing, very good just all across the board. And how many of these movies are going to see the
Mm,
public, and how much of the public is going to actually even be aware of these films? And you really do wish that you could somehow get all this out to people. But people, like you said earlier, they don't have enough time to watch everything, right? They gotta,
yeah,
you don't have a million hours a day. There's so much stuff. And nowadays you can watch everything going back 30, 40, 50, 60 years without any problem.
yeah.
And so there's a lot of competition. And it's sad because some of these movies are very, very meaningful in a way and very entertaining. And it's not going to be seen. So, um, yeah, it's definitely narrowing, narrowing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yet we
Uh,
get different signs because I think Anora winning Best Picture was kind of a great sign in the direction of.
yes, that was very nice to see. I was very thrilled by that. I think that I would like to see more. I would like to see a lot more funding for films. I want to see more tax credits across the country. That's obviously can get a little bit of a that can get some people worked up, but and obviously don't just hand money out. But I think that the towns that I filmed in, cities I filmed in certain states, I think filming is a net positive on the local economy, if that's people's concerns. And also it's a great advertisement for the city, for the
Mm.
town that you're in. It employs a lot of people, actors and crew spend a lot of money at restaurants. So just this is me preaching right now to politicians, so and legislators. So just telling you, go run the numbers, go do the math, have a little analysis done, hire some consulting firm or review other consulting firms who have done this, and I think you're going to see that it's a net positive because I would love to see more credits here because it would be really great for the independent film industry for sure, for
Matt,
sure.
I'm curious, have you done stage?
No, I have not. And I always I always want to, but it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
And it's you have to be in a certain place. And I guess if I was on a show that I knew was going back, I think that I would say, okay, let me take the 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Nowadays, it's longer than that because usually shows aren't quite as many episodes anymore. And I would do some theater. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That'd
I
be
think you
really,
should. We'd
really
love to see you
rewarding
here in New York.
for sure. New York is definitely where I'd go for it.
My last question for you really is, what can you tell us about what you're doing next?
Oh man, I just did a film called with the NFL and with Hallmark, and it's a Christmas movie. Um, but it's a very fun cast. Holland Roden, Steve Sciarippa, Caroline Aaron, Joey Pantalone, Joey
Joey
Pants,
Pants.
Joey
Yeah.
Pants. That's what we're
Yeah.
gonna, yeah. But just a great cast and just sort of a fun film. And that was a fun thing to do up in Buffalo, New York, where they have great tax credits. Great city, great place to go visit, and you should go eat the wings. Um, and I got some other things lined up that I'm pretty excited about, and I'm hoping that everything comes to fruition. And I think that it's going to be a very productive year. So I'm very happy about where things are going. So that's good.
That sounds great. Well, looking forward to it. Thank you for taking the time out and
Yeah,
have a great day.
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Have a great one.
Thanks.